The housekeeper thought the lady of the house was taking a sauna, but was horrified when she saw what had actually happened to her employer. Agents soon arrived at the scene. The police found no signs of forced entry and nothing appeared to be missing. The agents quickly learned that the homeowner was named Wendy, a wedding planner. Medical examiner Clark discovered puncture marks from a sharp object on her ribs, and the corresponding hole at the thoracic vertebrae indicated that the victim had died from a stab wound through the heart. The agents found from the security system that Wendy's assistant had visited. The assistant stated he had gone to Wendy's house yesterday to pick up some fabric, but insisted he never entered the bedroom and had even turned on the alarm system before leaving. The female medical examiner discovered defensive fractures on the hand that hadn't decomposed. Angela found a photo on the victim's computer showing Wendy covered in bruises, with a note underneath reading, "If anything happens to me, it was definitely my husband who did it." It now appeared the deceased was likely killed by her own husband. However, when the agents located him and informed him of Wendy's death, he said he'd been arguing with his wife recently and hadn't seen her in quite some time. The reason for their argument was that Wendy wanted him to give up his career as a horse trainer. As for Wendy's message on the computer, it actually referred to her first husband, Tom. They had divorced precisely because Wendy couldn't tolerate his domestic abuse. And after the divorce, Wendy had even obtained a restraining order against Tom from the court. However, according to him, Tom had died a year ago in a drunken brawl, but he had seen Exxon throwing things at Wendy over wedding budget issues, and it was possible he might do something extreme because of the high fees for his daughter's wedding. When police informed him of their purpose, Exxon claimed he wasn't angry enough to kill anyone. As for his previous argument with the deceased, he was simply upset that Wendy had upsold expensive orchids to his daughter, increasing his budget. At that moment, the female agent received a call from the lab. Clark had found some human tissue under the deceased's fingernails that didn't belong to Wendy, so they just needed to provide a suspect's sample for immediate comparison. The female agent asked Exxon to provide a sample, but he refused, insisting they needed a search warrant. Fortunately, the agents discovered that Exxon had a son currently in prison for insider trading, meaning his information was on record in the database, so they could use it to compare with the sample from under the deceased's fingernails. Meanwhile, Hodgins identified the foreign matter in the deceased's hair as belonging to an expensive type of orchid. Combined with previous investigation, he theorized that perhaps during Exxon's argument with the deceased, he had thrown the orchid at Wendy's head and, still unsatisfied, ultimately killed her. Additionally, Clark confirmed that the human tissue had a 65% genetic match with Exxon's son's sample. However, when Cam examined it, she discovered the tissue was female, meaning the person they were really looking for was Exxon's daughter. The agents immediately located Exxon's daughter. Facing their questions, she admitted going to Wendy's house a few days earlier to demand why she had replaced those orchids. She had thrown a bouquet in Wendy's face, and they had fought. She threatened Wendy that if she didn't meet her demands, she would have her father switch to a different wedding company. Later, they became friends again. The agents quickly verified she wasn't lying. On the day of the murder, she had been at a bar with some girlfriends. Meanwhile, Angela found another encrypted file on the deceased's computer. After decryption, they discovered Wendy had given half her company's shares to her assistant, Darren. More critically, the file specifically noted that if anything happened to her, Darren would get the entire company. Darren also stated that Wendy had indeed mentioned giving him a surprise on Valentine's Day, but he truly hadn't expected it to be this surprise. At this point, the lab finally recreated the murder weapon using a mold. It was a conical object made of cast iron. Looking at the photo Hodgins sent, the female agent immediately recognized it as a decorative piece used on cakes. Darren was then brought to the police station by Booth as the murderer. Just when everyone thought the case was closed, Angela found a new lead. After further examination, she discovered that someone had accessed that encrypted file on Wendy's computer before her murder. Based on the last email account logged in, this person was the deceased's husband, Greg. Not only that, but Hodgins detected, in addition to bloodstains, traces of hoof oil on the murder weapon. The problem now was that the evidence they currently had was insufficient to convict him. Soon, Greg was brought to the interrogation room. Booth first presented the murder weapon, claiming they had already found hoof oil and his DNA on it. The helpless man could only confess. He had seen his wife was going to transfer her shares to the assistant and became so enraged that he did this irrational thing.